you're live now.
We call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Michi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Michi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Good afternoon and welcome to the County of Haliburton's Land Division Committee. My name is Liz Danielson. I'm the chair of the committee, and I'd like to introduce you to the other members. Tammy McKelvey, Councillor at Large for Minden Hills. Pat Kennedy, Public Member for Dysart et al. Bob Snyder, Public Member representing Highlands East. And Bill Donald, Public Member representing Algonquin Highlands. We're also joined by our Director of Planner, Elizabeth Purcell, and our official Land Division Secretary Treasurer, Adam Kozlowski. This meeting is held through remote electronic participation in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The purpose of the hearing is to give each applicant or their authorized agent the opportunity to discuss their application with the committee and to respond to written submissions which may have been received. It is also an opportunity for committee members to broaden their understanding of each application by asking questions. Members of the public who are participating virtually today may also make oral submissions to the committee, whether in support or opposition of an application. We do hear the applications in the same order as they were received in our office. Our planner will introduce each application and provide planning briefs. Then participants who have registered to address the committee will be admitted virtually to speak to the committee. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee. With that, we'll now proceed with the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented? Moved by Member Kennedy, seconded by Member Donald.
Be it resolved, excuse me, be it resolved that the April 14th, 2025 Land Division Committee agenda be hereby approved.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of March the 10th? Moved by Member McKelvey, seconded by Member Snyder.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held March 10th, 2025 be approved as printed and circulated. All
in favor? That's carried. So we'll move into the applications for consideration. First up is Toole and Lee for consent cancellation on the Dorset Road in Algonquin Highlands. Camp Dorset Road, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll share screen and walk committee through the application. Okay, and I trust everyone can see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So application H00625 is for the lands at 1085 Camp Dorset Road in the township of Algonquin Highlands. And the purpose of this application is to cancel a previous consent from 2007. And just by way of background, I'll walk committee on the next slide briefly through the chain of events and the Planning Act history on this property. Subject lands are just at the east shore of Deer Lake on the river that connects to Kawagama. And the property in particular that we will be canceling the consent on is highlighted in red here, and that's 1085 Camp Dorset Road. So if committee recalls, back in 2023, we did a severance to separate the north side of the creek from the south side, and that was approved. And one of the components of the approval was that the concession road allowance shown here in yellow was to be purchased and amalgamated with the rest of the lands from the township. And what happened was earlier this year, I got an email from the solicitor representing the landowner saying that because 1085 Camp Dorset Road was itself created by a consent, that this lot would not be able to merge with the north side of the river, which was the retained lands of the 2023 consent, and the concession road allowance. And the reason we need to do this is there is a condition on the 2023 consent that requires all three of these parcels to merge. So by canceling the 2007 consent, that will allow this process to happen. So I circulated Algonquin Highlands. They did not require a municipal endorsement for this application. And consent cancellations also do not require any public circulation or posting or any type of notice to the public. It's just dealt with by the committee. And so staff recommend approval of the application. It'll allow the previous consent to move forward. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do any members of the committee have questions for Adam? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to the application, Adam?
Madam Chair, to the committee, there is no one in attendance.
Okay, hearing no questions, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the report and to grant provisional approval of the application for consent cancellation? Moved by Member McKelvey, seconded by Member Kennedy.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to application for consent cancellation H00625, and that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent cancellation H00625, subject to the condition in the staff report. Member Snyder?
Yay.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes. Carried. The next application is by Munshaw for a right-of-way on Spears Lane in Minden Hills.
Okay, application H00725 is for the lands at 1040 Spears Lane in Minden Hills. And this application is to grant a right-of-way over one shoreline property benefiting a neighboring shoreline property. For context, the property is on the west shore of 12 Mile Lake, as shown by the star, just southwest of Carnarvon. And just zooming in, so the subject lands are 1040 Spears, and what will happen is there's a new driveway, and it's in the site package with the pictures, but there's a new driveway that's been extended, and that new driveway will require right of way. That will benefit the neighboring lot at 1041 Spears Lane. So just zooming in a little bit more. So these granting property is outlined in green, and the new driveway crosses just over kind of the west corner of that property. And that driveway is shown again in the site pictures. So Minden Hills staff have endorsed the application with standard conditions. No correspondence was received from the public or agencies, and staff recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions in the report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from members of the committee? Member Snyder?
Thank you. Adam, so the permission is only required on this one lot. On either side, title is fine. There's access.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So the driveway that crossed over that triangle piece is the only permission required. The rest of that private road that is Spears Lane, there's a legal opinion in the package that David Shapiro did a search, and they have legal access all the way out to 12 Mile along that private road. Yep.
Any other questions from committee members? Is there anyone who wishes from the outside who wishes to speak to the application?
Madam Chair, I do not have anyone in attendance for this.
Okay, hearing none, then could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the staff report and grant provisional approval for consent application 00725? Member Donald, and seconded by Member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the staff report related to application for consent H00725, and that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H00725, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. The next application is by Hutchings in Dysart et al. To create one new rural residential lot.
Okay, nope. My apologies, committee. The information up here is for another application, so we'll just go down to the maps here. So the subject property is just south of Haliburton Village on Parish Line, which is it's shown by the red star here. And the subject property is outlined in yellow, and it's just under 200 acres. So the application will sever one new rural residential lot having an area of 2.92 hectares and 215 meters of frontage on Parish Line Road. Just to provide a bit more detail, so this Parish Line Road does do a bit of an S-bend here. So I'll call it the flankage of the severed lot from the neighboring property here to the hydro line is approximately 160 feet. So it's got that frontage on the road, and then the rest of the frontage is along the unopened road allowance. So just showing the entire property here, it does have a dwelling and various outbuildings, and this retained lot would have an area of 77 hectares with 523 meters of frontage on Parish Line. So Dysart Council endorsed the application. We did not receive any public comments on the application or from agencies. A scoped environmental impact study was submitted in support of the application. It was reviewed by Dysart staff and by county staff and was found acceptable. And staff recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions in the report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee members? Is there an applicant or an agent who wishes to speak to the application?
Madam Chair, I do not have anyone in attendance.
Okay, then could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the staff report and grant provisional approval for the application? Moved by Member Kennedy, seconded by Member Snyder.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the staff report related to application for consent H00825, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H0025, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. The final application is for a bell easement on Cushog Lake Road in Algonquin Highlands.
Okay, application H00925 is for 1330 Cushog Lake Road, Algonquin Highlands. And this is a proposal for a easement benefiting Bell Canada. And the property is on the south shore of Cushog Lake, shown by the red star, just west of Carnarvon. And zooming in a little bit on the air photo, the property is outlined in red. And that hydro cut is right in front of the cottage on the subject lands. And the reason for the application, I'll just go to the next slide. So the reason for the application is the cottage owners wish to bury the existing hydro line for aesthetic purposes, just so that it's not in front of the cottage. And they already do have an easement with Hydro for that. And what's happening is Bell is more or less piggybacking onto that easement so that the Bell line can also be buried. And the easement will provide access to the lines for maintenance or repairs as needed in the future. So Algonquin Highlands Council endorsed the application. No comments were received from the public or agencies. Staff recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions in the report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I believe Sue Harrison is also here on behalf of the applicant.
Do members of the committee have any questions on the application? Okay, if you want to bring Sue in, if she's got any comments. Good afternoon, Ms. Harrison.
Good afternoon. I'm just here to answer any questions. I believe this is a fairly straightforward matter, and Adam has given you all the pertinent information. So I'm just happy to answer any questions, should there be any.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Harrison? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the report and grant provisional approval for the application? Moved by Member Donald, seconded by Member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to application for consent H00925, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H00925, subject to the conditions as listed in the staff report. Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that you wish to bring forward, Mr. Kozlowski?
Not at this time. I think next month, I believe we're going to see 3 applications, maybe 4. But the ones next month that I have are for some new lots, new rural residential lots.
You have to give us something to sink our teeth into a little bit.
Well, that's why we do the pre-consultation to make sure that everything that comes forward is
Dealt with.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Okay, is everyone good with the May 12th date for our next meeting?
Yep.
Sounds like it. If there's no further business, could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting? Member Snyder, seconded by.
Sorry,
Member
I was
Kennedy. Oh, did you have a question?
I actually have another meeting on that day, so I probably will not be present.
Okay, we'll make a note of that.
Okay.
Thank you. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, Madam
Yep.
Chair. I'll just read the resolution to make it official.
Okay, sorry about that.
Be resolved that the April 14th, 2025 Land Division Committee meeting be hereby adjourned.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Yep.
Enjoy the day.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon. Nice
Yep.
seeing you again,
Bye
Liz.
now.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pat.
Yep.
You too.
Thank you.